luckily he was watching the video when he started laughing, and I was like, what are you watching? And he was like, I'm watching a bonobo get tickled. I'm secretly like, I have no idea what a bonobo is.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of For Dummies, and we have the full cast as usual. We have Mr. Robert D.
Hello.
Mrs. Skullface.
Hello.
The art extraordinaire, working on the logo as we speak, Mr. Just One.
Bonobo.
What we're going to talk about today is, in America, we have two main toy producers, Mattel and Hasbro. And Hasbro has been killing Mattel for some time, at least it seems. And we've seen signs of it in recent months that make us believe that there might be bigger problems than what we even perceive. But what's interesting about this particular discussion is if people respond to this kind of stuff, we can broaden our scope of what we can talk about on For Dummies and also retain an audience.
And this was prompted, I think, for me just, searching for Christmas gifts for my son who's into superheroes. I was just searching to see what figures were out there. So you're looking at obviously all the Marvel Legends, and then you look at some of the, I think it was the DC Icon stuff, and it's...
Let me ask this. Let me get a baseline. Dude, fire. Laura has a little bit of experience with Hasbro products because she just sees them around the house. Just what Hasbro products are you seeing on a regular basis?
Star Wars stuff, Transformers stuff, Marvel Legends.
What about you, Robert?
Mostly Transformers and Star Wars is what I see. And then you see in the groups, people love Marvel Legends. Everyone, all of you, y'all love it. Love it.
I do.
And then someone realizes, what have I done? And then they're like trying to sell us a lot. And it's like their bed covered in like 500 crappy figures.
Because that's the thing with Marvel Legends is you get them and you're like, damn, man, these look really good. And then after you've messed with it for a while and you're like, I got to get rid of this thing because it's just I can't get past plastic.
It's 100% a toy. But I think there's a charm to that. I also think that Marvel Legends specifically, it's the sum of its parts that make it great. So like if you buy one Marvel Legend, you're like $20. But if you buy like 10
or 100,
all right, easy you,
piled up on shelves all around the ceiling,
but you look
leaping to their death.
That's also
day
true.
After day.
But you stop for a minute and you look at like an X-Men blue team that you put together, and it looks fantastic, and still has that playability. I think that Marvel Legends are kind of the lowest common denominator of acceptable mainline toys.
Yeah,
Do
but
you
conversely,
want Black Series into that too as well?
So no, I don't. I put Black Series far above. I was just showing Laura recently, like some of these Black Series faces and paint. The fact I just bought that recent wave of Black Series figures, they're amazing. Like it single-handedly trumps every other wave I've ever bought of any toy line ever.
Fake news.
Do you think that's because the Star Wars stuff has to have, for the most part, human faces? Where like,
so I think that's part of it, but I think the other part of it is they're all unique. A Marvel Legend creates like 4 or 5 different bucks and then decos the buck differently to create 30, 40, 50 different figures.
Reproduces the buck out of them.
But do you need different body sculpts? I mean, that kind of does lend itself though to superheroes.
Yeah, it's a quantity over quality, but the quality has increased.
The Build-A-Figure stuff, are those individual molds?
More often than not, they're unique and individual. Every now and then they repurpose some stuff. But Black Series creates like it's 8 unique molds. They're all painted to the nines. Dry brushing, washing, digital face paint. They're all sculpted beautifully. They're extremely well done.
Have you noticed an uptick in quality since Disney's purchased it?
I guess so, but I think that's circumstantial. I think that Black Series considers the import stuff to be competition, and I don't think Marvel Legends do.
I would just assume that they're all under that Disney umbrella, so somebody's got to, at some point, the marketing pyramid has to still go back to one person.
I think there's probably marketing and licensing people that deal that stuff out, and then they're done.
And that's why I was asking if you saw the uptick since Disney took over, because I would assume if you say yes, as soon as Disney took over, I saw them getting better, I would say, oh, then I'm assuming you're going to see that same trend.
Well, no, it certainly wasn't night and day, because Hasbro's had Marvel like for a while. It was long after the Disney takeover that we started seeing Marvel Legends get better. We actually started seeing Marvel Legends and the Black Series have an upward swing around the same time, which was closer related to the Star Wars buyout, but not related at all to the Marvel one.
Now, we're talking talking a whole lot. A conversation about Hasbro, right? It's very rich, ironically. No one's saying anything about Mattel.
No, I mean, I think that is the point. Let's talk about Mattel licenses. Barbie is Mattel.
Barbie.
He-Man is Mattel.
Okay.
I think Hot Wheels, aren't Hot Wheels Mattel too as well?
Hot Wheels are made by Mattel.
And wrestling. They have wrestling. And that's a big franchise.
I feel like Mattel, with the exception of Transformers, made all the stuff from the 80s cartoons. Like they
didn't though.
But they had like Thundercats, they had He-Man.
Correct. Right? But Hasbro had G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Mattel purchased Fisher-Price in 1993 and Pleasant Company, which is the maker of the American Girl brand, which is in 98. Those are huge.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Masters of the Universe is still a viable brand?
No.
No.
See, I do. I just think it needs the energy put back into it.
Was it this year or last year that they had like a new release, a new reveal of like He-Man figures?
Those are 1/6 scale and they're licensed.
And I don't think, those aren't made by Mattel.
Yeah, it's made by Mondo.
I think that He-Man could make a comeback, but I think as it is right now, it's not viable.
You don't think that they could release like the Masters of the Universe classics like they did through the subscription club? You don't think they could release that at retail at a smaller volume and collectors wouldn't pick it up? Because I would.
Oh, I think collectors would, yeah. But I mean, I'm talking like my kid's not going to ever watch He-Man, even if it was a new thing, you know?
She-Ra's out now.
Yeah, but
who?
good.
I don't know anybody that's watching that as a kid.
I heard it wasn't good.
No, I think it is. I just think it's aimed for kids. I think that wrestling and Barbie is probably their main cash crop.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
Hot
for
Wheels.
sure.
An American Girl doll. I'm telling you, there's big money there. And Fisher-Price.
Right,
I mean,
What does Fisher-Price produce now?
like a ton of
Mattel
toys
has-
for 5 and under.
So Barbies are always going to take home the money. And it sounds like American Girls are doing well.
American Girl dolls.
Well, I think American Girls are doing probably fine as well. Does anyone here have experience with their DC stuff? Because like I've looked at it in packaging and been tempted because I'm a mega DC fan. Like upon further examination, I'm like, I'm not doing this.
I feel like the stuff that my son has like, there's no knee joints. It's just legs that bend at the hips and arms that bend at the shoulder and then a head swivel. Like
So I look at them. I think they are articulated. I don't think the range is as great. Like they seem to have shoulder joints, elbows, wrists, hips, knees, etc. But like the paint doesn't seem on board. The cuts in the joint. Like if you look at their ab crunches, it just looks antiquated compared to what Hasbro's doing.
Is this now when you're talking about the DC stuff?
The DC stuff that ends up in the main line, like anchor stores, are the multiverse and then the DC, whatever, DC Universe, it was what it was called. And that's the
It says here.
6-inch line.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think that the stuff that Mattel is creating for the DC license at a 6-inch 1/12 scale is in any way competing with what Hasbro is producing at a 1/12 scale. It's apples and oranges. And if you were to compare it logically, DC Universe with Marvel Legends kill it. And if you were to compare the wrestling stuff, which is real people, with Star Wars, which is real people, Hasbro is killing it.
Here's my thing about the DC icons. Like somebody from DC has to be looking at the fact that Marvel toy line is crushing them. So it makes me wonder if there's something in their agreement that they have with Mattel or that they had with Mattel, basically saying, look, you've got free range. Your designers can make whatever they want. We don't need to approve it. Like, how is that stuff getting approved?
That I don't know. See, I don't think the license holders for Marvel or Star Wars are signing off piece by piece for what Hasbro is producing anymore. I think they have an established relationship. The only caveat to that is that Marvel and Star Wars are both coming up for recontract at 2020. Which puts Hasbro in a pickle. And as we just learned recently, DC is already subcontracting different items through different companies and has left Mattel.
DC gave its licensing, took it from Mattel and gave it to Spin Master, and that caused Mattel's stock to drop like 5%.
Yes, but they picked it up for the boys action category, remote control and robotic vehicles, water toys and games and puzzles.
Who has Nerf?
Hasbro.
You got a lot of Nerf.
I do.
I think that ironically, Mattel losing this potential license agreement with DC could put DC in a better spot. But I also think that Hasbro is like really making a name for themselves in the collector market, but they're making that name based on properties they don't own. So like we're not talking about G.I. Joe. We're not talking about Transformers. We're talking about the things that they excel at, which are licensees. And I wonder if they are stepping that up in order to maintain that license. Are we seeing this work and effort in order to get that 2020 contract?
Don't you see Mattel like this being a wake-up call for them that they need to rise to the occasion to compete? Do you think they can do that?
See, that's what I was going to say. Is I think at this point Hasbro is so far ahead that they would really have to turn the whole company around.
Like
I think in regards to superheroes and stuff like that.
If Hasbro were to put out a straight to Netflix or straight to whatever cartoon series of G.I. Joe and then back that up with a 6-inch line, it would be as successful as Marvel Legends and Star Wars. No, not as successful, but it would be successful because it doesn't have the movie media to back it. The problem is I hear the Siege line is great. I haven't messed with any of them, so I can't say for sure, but it does seem like an improvement. But even when I look at the Siege line, I'm not wowed by it in the same way that I'm wowed by Marvel Legends or Black Series.
You could be mowed as well.
That's also true. But I think that they don't have any kind of agreement coming up in 2020 for their own stuff. They've got their stuff. It's complacency, I think.
You know what's funny with that Siege line? What I've seen the posts on the Facebooks is people aren't saying, "Oh, this is a better figure." They're like weighing them. You know, like, look, it's heavier than Powder Primes.
Robert,
it's better.
Didn't you know that the heavier a toy is, the better the toy is?
It's like because they're smaller.
Do you think Hasbro's going to get Marvel and Star Wars license renewed?
I do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They got the numbers to justify it. Why?
Yeah.
If you were making
Well,
the
unless
product
Disney
for you,
wants to produce them on their own.
See, that's my thing. I
Yeah.
think they should because I think Hasbro is making tremendous leaps and bounds. Like, people think I hate Hasbro. I think Hasbro's making the best figures in the game on a retail level. I just don't think they belong to the Transformers brand. I think they should definitely renew that. The only caveat is they've been trying this Elite series in the Disney stores and all this to make it completely theirs. And I can see them taking 100% ownership of it. Like, no, Disney's going
You have
to be
to come to
producing
the
these.
Disney store or Disney World. Or,
And the way that Toys R Us have shut down, it's opened the market for what the toy game can be. Disney could get in that. Easy.
there's the whole idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if
True.
Hasbro is putting out a great product that's profitable for them, that's increasing the value of their brand also because the product is so good, why mess with that?
I agree.
well, then they may just make it, Disney exclusives and.
Right. I think that's
instead
what
of-
you'd see first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It would really mess it up is if all of a sudden, Hasbro tries to renegotiate their contract for something wild. You know what I mean?
Right.
That comes into play a lot of the times.
Or if Disney does.
You know what I want to see? A bed covered in Marvel Legends.
Steve Buscemi from Mr. Deeds.
Popeye.
The Christmas drone. The sound of dubstep music in picture form.
Oh, you started too high.
Don't be ridiculous.
Oh, you should do dubstep, Bobby.
The worst Christmas gift you've ever received.
Hey, I know what that picture is going to be, but real quick.
Oh, boy.